this episode of A Rider Story, we'll get up close and personal with Italian-born reining horse rider Andrea Fappani and German-born dressage rider Steffen Peters. Both men are living out the American dream, but in very different arenas. At 32, Fappani has already set the Reining Horse Association's record for the highest scoring run of 2:36.5, as well as having the distinction of being NRHA's youngest million-dollar rider. 45-year-old Peters and his partner Ravel were undefeated in every phase of both the World Cup Dressage Finals and Aachen in 2009, a feat never before accomplished by an American rider, and for which Peters was awarded his second consecutive United States Equestrian Federation Equestrian of the Year. Both Fappani and Peters are veterans of the World Equestrian Games and have their sights set on representing their adopted country in Kentucky. Join us as they share their personal and professional journeys, insights, and advice.
My dad got me started just because he enjoyed horses. We started with a couple ponies and then moved on to bigger horses, but pretty soon we figured out that both me and my dad, we wanted to get a little bit more serious about it, and like anything he did, if we were going to do it, we were going to try to do it the best we could. So we started taking lessons from an English rider, a jumper rider that was close by to us, and pretty soon we got pretty serious. By the time I was 6 and 7, I started jumping a little bit. There was a trainer about an hour away that was starting this reining discipline that we never heard of, and you know, as soon as we heard reining and connected to Western, we kind of shrugged our shoulders and thought it was a fun thing to do. It seems like after you take that first lesson, you kind of get hooked. I don't know what it is about reining. I don't know if it's the feeling of having a horse that almost does his job on his own without you having to ride him too hard, or if it's the speed factor that's involved with it that really brings a lot of adrenaline to you, or what it is, but we definitely got hooked. So by the young age of 7, I started taking some lessons as far as Western riding and reining, and by the time I was 8, we started showing. We bought our first few horses, and I started showing. So pretty much by the time I was 9, between 9 and 15, that's all I did pretty much. I went to school, and then in the afternoons we'd rode horses. I took some horses and got help from different trainers, but also I kept some horses at home and tried to figure it out ourselves.
There was a pony club about 10 minutes bike ride from us, and Anke started 2 months ahead of me, and she kept bugging me for 4 weeks and said, you know what, you got to try this. It's so much fun to play with the animals, to work with the animals. And since I always was an animal lover, even as a kid, which my mom always told me I couldn't just simply walk past a dog, I always need to pat it, and that's still the same today. But yes, it is my sister that got me involved. My sister and I were always very fortunate to have wonderful support from mom and dad. And when we were 12, 13 years old, we both competed together. The international pony sport in Europe is quite big. So you're competing in Holland, Germany, Sweden, Denmark. And you also have European championships for ponies. And I remember one time in Sweden where it was a major championship, and my sister and I had exactly the same score after the second day of dressage. And usually what's done, they break up the tie and they look at the coefficient scores down below, but in this case they didn't, and we were both in first place, and that certainly is a moment I don't forget. I always was fascinated by the finesse and about the communication that was necessary in dressage, and that's how it finally turned into a passion. It's first of all this amazing level of trust. I always say, we obviously have to love our horses, but when it comes to the show arena, he also needs to be our business partner. And for that it takes a mutual amount of respect, and that's what both of us have. And that's what's so fascinating about it. Also, simply the communication. You know, how very little I need to do to get Ravel to answer in a certain way. Again, it has very little to do with strength. It's just a lot of timing, a lot of small little inputs and signals. And for Ravel to do it so willingly and so with so much fun each day, that is probably one of the most fascinating things about the sport.